Hey crafty friends, in today's video I am going to be talking about how to choose the right pattern paper to match your photos. I have some kind of challenging photos here that have some crazy colors, and I want to walk you through that whole process of finding paper to work with my photos and then deciding on which pieces go where. So first off, I have pictures from On Stage, which is the Stampin' Up convention that happened earlier this year. I was actually asked to present. So I have photos of me being all mic'd up and ready to go on stage. You can see the crowd in the background there waiting for me. So I have lots to say about this. I have a big story. I wanted to finally get this scrapbooked before my memory kind of fades and I forget some things. So quite often, one of my first things to do is to find a sketch. So I'm going to be bringing in the Creative Design Team 12 by 12 Volume 1 sketchbook. And I found this sketch here that fits quite a few photos as well as different orientations, and I think this will work really good for my photos. So once I decide on a sketch, then I can go ahead and pick which photos are going where, print them in the right sizes. I do have one here that is a 5 by 7. Quite often I only go up to a 4 by 6, but once in a while it's nice to do a 5 by 7. Now the reason I chose that one instead of like maybe this one is that this was taken in like the dark backstage area and it's just not super crisp. So I chose one of my nicest photos that was nice and clear and would look good being made bigger. And then I'm going to do a series of 3 over here, kind of backstage, going up on stage, and then me teaching. And then I have a few more shots that I want to use. And this kind of lime green, yellow color is in both of these. This one's a little bit more green. This here looks a little bit more yellow, but it shows up. There's also like the yellow popping up in these photos here. How I'm going to deal with it here with the photos is just spread them apart so that that color is balanced. And then these are going to go up in this column right here. Now, sometimes with difficult colors, you can choose to incorporate them into your paper, or you might want to just ignore them and not focus on those colors. So once I have my photos, I have my design of how everything is going to be laid out. Then the question is paper. What kind of paper am I going to use? Lots of times I will start with white cardstock. It's a great blank slate. I can always change it up afterwards if I maybe pick a lot of pattern paper that has white in it and I want to have a color in my background instead. But the design that I'm using doesn't have a lot of the background showing. It's basically just this little bit here. So in that case, I think the white will look good and help whatever colors I choose to pop. Now, what colors do I have in my photos? What kind of stands out to me? Well, I have some blues. I have like pinks and purples. I have that yellow. We have this kind of like warm wood color. There's actually quite a few colors scattered around in these photos. But when I look at these photos, what really jumps out to me is the blue, the pink, the purple. This even has a pink cast to it because of the lights. So I'm going to be thinking about those colors as I go look for paper. And usually what I like to do is I start with collections that are fairly new, maybe I haven't used yet, but just generally something that's newer that I have out in my paper organizer that's on top of my table. So when I looked through my paper collections, I came across this Floral Charm pack, and I have not used this one yet. It's been sitting here waiting for me to use it. And I just like to put it next to my photos, kind of see how the colors look together. And with this one, I really like the back sides. You can see that blue looks really nice. It really goes well with the blues going on in here. There's a lot of like subtle tones. I could even use that one. That's Blackberry Bliss. So the front sides are very busy, but the back sides are a little bit more calm and muted. I liked this color to go with the pink kind of tone in those photos. We got this peacock color. Doesn't really go as much There's a little bit more of this Mossy Meadow green that's matching the background up there. So we got some of that Mossy Meadow going on. And then this, there actually is a little bit of that orange color in the back, in my paper pack there, but that's pretty much it. You can see there's no like bright yellow or bright green in this pack, but I'm not sure I really want to focus on that. It's going to pop no matter what because it's a very bright color. But what I'm thinking is I really like this floral. It's probably my favorite floral out of the whole thing. Maybe some of the Blackberry Bliss. I really like this as just a neutral. It's so deep. I find it works with a lot of different things. Then we have this Berry Burst color, which I think will work really nice with this. This one, probably not so much. And then probably the green. We'll have to see about which green I want to bring in. Just kind of depends on, if I use this floral, then we have the Peacock color in there. So we might want to work in both greens and see how that works. But when I lay my papers here against my photos, I feel like the colors go pretty well. They are complementary. Oh yeah, and I have the blue on this side of that floral one as well. I think they're very complementary to these photos. They're not fighting the colors in these photos. And sometimes the best way to tell is just to put the colors next to each other and just see how your photos look against the papers. Now we can start auditioning the paper for the spots where we might want to put it. This way we can kind of get an idea of how something is looking and if we even like it. Now the other limitation is that blue color that I like is on the back. I think it's Night of Navy. It's on the back of this floral. So if I use this floral, I have to keep in mind that I can't use any big chunks of that blue pattern. So I'm gonna flip that over here. So this is kind of how the paper is going on the sketch. And it's just kind of nice to get an idea of how things are looking. Now I could put this floral down here, but I know I'm going to want to put a title on here. So I'm not sure that I want the busier pattern behind my title. The other option is put my title over here as well, and that would also be over the busy part. So one area here is supposed to be for title and one area is supposed to be for journaling. So I'm thinking if I have a calmer pattern that is in the background, that might work better for both the title and for journaling, because I just don't want the pattern to fight too much with it. My go-to is to pick one busier or bigger, bolder pattern. It's kind of the hero pattern, and then pick my supporting patterns that are a little bit calmer. And any of these blocks, you could substitute out cardstock. If you have trouble mixing patterns and you just don't like how it looks, you can also choose one pattern and then choose a couple of cardstocks that match the colors in that pattern paper and do the rest of your layers with cardstock. Now the other thing I want to keep in mind when I'm choosing what patterns are going to go where is that I want to do some embellishments, and those embellishments are going to be florals. That follows the sketch, but also this is Stampin' Up. Florals make perfect sense. I have florals in my pattern paper, so I think that makes perfect sense to do florals as my embellishments, which means I'm going to need colors for flowers. I'm going to need greens for the leaves. And so if I make a background layer green, putting leaves over top of that is going to blend right into it. It's not going to pop. Whereas here, if I do my flowers, maybe bring in some of this Blackberry Bliss in my flowers, that would help create some contrast. And then I could also bring in either this green or the Peacock green or a mixture of both to do my leaves with, which would pop a little bit better against the background. The green I'm kind of torn on because we have the Peacock color in our pattern paper, so to me that goes better. But we do have a coordinating green in my photos that would go really good with this. So that, I'm gonna cross that bridge when I come to it and just kind of try both and see what I like. In the sketch, there is a layer that goes behind this block of photos. And I'm thinking maybe that's where I'll bring the Blackberry Bliss in, as well as in the florals. It will help them stand out from the background, but not distract too much. I'm gonna go ahead, follow the measurements on the sketch, cut my paper, and see if I'm still loving how it's looking. Here is where we are at so far. I have cut my pieces, and now I'd like to take a step back and just kind of look at it, see if anything jumps out at me, if there's things I want to change at this point. Typically, I like to have my lighter colors towards the top and my darker colors at the bottom. I did swap these out to see if I would like them switched, and because the darker colors are visually heavier, I tend to like them at the bottom of the page. I was also looking at and wondering if this is going to be like too florally, and I was looking through my paper collections and I came across the Country Woods. This is a go-to pack for me. I always have some on hand because wood grain is just that perfect thing. When I'm not sure what to add, I always end up liking wood grain. So I was looking to see if maybe I want to substitute out this. It's the same color, it's Night of Navy, but you can see it looks a lot more rustic, not quite as florally, keeping in mind that I am going to add floral embellishments on top of this. And I know I've already cut this paper and it would be totally fine here, but I'm really leaning towards liking this little bit of rusticness brought in with the wood grain. So you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and do it and just save these pieces for another project. All right, when I step back and look at this, I do really like how this is looking. So now I think I want to add some definition between my patterns. And the way I like to do that typically is to use some ink and just sponge ink on the edges of my papers. So I'm going to bring in Night of Navy and an ink blending tool, and then I can apply ink just to the very edges. So I just want to add some definition. You won't see it as much on this piece of paper just because it's, you know, tone on tone. I'm using Night of Navy on top of a Night of Navy piece of paper. But if I do the other pieces and not this piece, it will kind of stand out as not fitting in with the others. While I ink my edges, I'm just going to speed it up a little bit and tell you the stories behind these photos. This was a really fun but very stressful weekend for me. I had been with Stampin' Up! For not even a year yet, and I decided I wanted to go to the onstage convention. And I thought it would be a great time to just like check it out, see how everything goes at their conventions. And they actually asked me to present, which I was shocked by considering I'm so new to the company. I was very flattered, so I said yes and then immediately regretted it. But it was okay. I got my bundle of product, designed my artwork. We did a test on Zoom of how my presentation might go. Shannon, who's in the photo with me on the left-hand page there, really helped me a lot, just giving me a lot of good tips and walking me through everything. I was kind of a nervous wreck all the whole weekend because guess what? My class was not scheduled until the last afternoon, the almost last presentation of the entire event. I was like stressed the whole time, just like, oh, I want to get this over so I can relax and enjoy myself, of course. But it really helped having some of my team there. Julie and Natalie, we roomed together. We had a great time together, and they really helped me kind of keep my feet on the ground and not freak out too much. Jama and Aaron were there, so it's just so nice to see people in person, some people from close to my heart that I haven't seen in a long time, and it was just really fun to connect with so many people and get my mind off of what was coming. Now, the most unexpected thing happened when I stepped on that stage. I actually was able to relax. I was able to joke and have fun. There was one point where I think quite a few people thought I used too much glue, and there was like an audible gasp from the crowd. And I was able to just, joke along with them and have a good time. And I'm so happy with how it went, and really happy that I said yes to doing it. These kind of events are such a great perk of being a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and being a part of a team. This month, actually till the end of October, Stampin' Up! Has an awesome deal where you can sign up for $48 and get $165 worth of product of your choice. You get to choose what's in your kit, Or if you have a big wish list, you can sign up for $135 and get to pick $252 worth of product. That is such a good deal. And if you have anything else left on your wish list after that order, well, good news is you now have a great discount to pick up the rest of your crafty wants and needs. So if you are in Canada and you would like to have a discount on your Stampin' Up! Purchases, as well as join a really fun crafty community, you can click that link down in the description box and take advantage of this really good deal until the end of October. I would love to have you join me. All right, I got everything down into place where I want it, and then I went and designed myself a title. So I did this on my Cricut, and it says Mic Drop Moment, because that definitely fits my story. And the title on the sketch is placed over here. I thought another good spot would be over here, since this is with the photos of my actual presentation. Could also like scooch it up a little bit higher, but there are some flowers that are going here. So this is just kind of floating right now. I have to think about where exactly I want that. I did this as a print and cut. So this is all just one flat embellishment. I might decide to pop it up just to give it a little something extra, get it up off the surface. I think that would look good. Now for embellishments, I'm going to bring in this Charming Day bundle. So I have the stamps and the dies, and I'm going to use some combination of those to create my clusters. So in the sketch, there's a cluster here, here, and here, and then journaling is going down here. I'm probably going to end up typing my journaling because I think I'm going to want to squeeze as much in as possible, and when I print it out on the computer, I can fit the most words. I went ahead and stamped this image from that Charming Day set. I'm going to go ahead and color it. I think I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Write markers. These are currently in the last chance section on a really good sale. In Canada, the regular $50 for a set, they're down to $35 for most of the sets. So if you don't have them, you might want to pick them up while they're on such a good price. So I have Blackberry Bliss, Berry Burst. So I'm going to use these two for the flowers. And then for the leaves, I'm going to use Pretty Peacock and Lost Lagoon because I wanted like a dark and light that I could blend together. So I'm just going to move this page over here for a second so that I can color on this side. And I'm going to start with my darkest color, the Pretty Peacock, using the brush side of the marker. And I'm going to start at the base of the leaves and just kind of flick outwards. These are going to be my shadows. And I will just go ahead and repeat this on all of these leaves. Then I'm going to take the lighter color, the Lost Lagoon, and I'm going to go over top of the whole leaf. And I'm trying to only make one pass because I don't want this color to get very dark. I only want to go over each area once if I can help it, which will help it blend well with that darker color and still have some lightness. If I keep going over and over one area, it's going to kind of get rid of the difference between the colors, and these will just end up looking very dark and not really have any shadows or highlights. This is a very quick and easy way to color. Doesn't really require a lot in the way of blending. And with these kind of water-based markers, you don't really want to work them too much. They'll start to pill up the cardstock. It'll ball up if you get it too wet. So I found it actually works better when I'm layering my colors like this. They're not really blending, they're just layering. I find it works better to go ahead and let the base layer sort of dry as you move on and color the other areas, and then come back to add your next layer, because that way the cardstock's not getting too wet and doesn't start to pill. There are my leaves, super simple coloring. And then I'm going to take my Blackberry Bliss and I'm going to go in here to the roses and just add some shadows. So I'm following the lines of the stamp, and it's up to you how much shadow you want to add. I am using the brush end just to keep it a little bit more kind of fluid and natural. I find with the bullet end it gets a little bit stiff. And anywhere where I have a larger area, I'm going to go ahead and add a few lines similar to what I did on the leaves. but not everywhere, because it just doesn't really make sense in the areas where there's not a lot of space. Then I'm going to go in with my Berry Burst, and I'm just going to do the same thing where I just color over top and just put a solid coat of color. Now you could layer more on if you want it to be a little bit more blended together. You could also make it look a little bit more painterly and have some white areas that are more like a highlight, or even use a lighter pink or a purpley pink to fill those in and have a brighter highlight. But we are just going to keep this simple today. I'm just going to fill in this little area. I think on my other ones I colored that white, but that's okay. This is definitely a different way of coloring compared to an alcohol marker, which I think we are all a little bit more used to, but it definitely makes for fast coloring. All right, there is my rose. So now I'm just going to go ahead and use the coordinating die to cut this out. And I think I'll color up a couple more of these so I have enough for all my clusters. I went ahead and cut out some pieces from the die set. This is like a flower and leaf combo from the Charming Day die set. And then we have a little leaf. I did that one in Night of Navy. And then we have a small leaf branch and a larger leaf branch, all from that same set. And I did those out of Mossy Meadow. I wanted to bring in some of this yellow-green color, and I thought that might be a good way to do it. I also cut out a circle from the Spotlight on Nature set. I want to add like a subtitle or something like that, so I thought that would be a good kind of home for it, and this would help me fill out this cluster up here. So we're going to put that kind of layered over top of the blue, and then just kind of fill out this corner. We'll see how that all comes together. Not sure if I want like another one coming out here or possibly in here. We'll just see if I need two in there or just one is good. And then here I have this retired set called Storybook Life. It has some really nice title options, subtitle options, and I chose the one that says Big Smiles. Let's see if I put this straight on the block, so hopefully I can stamp it straight. And I want to put it right here in that top corner. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that in Night of Navy. Always a good idea to do a test stamp just to make sure you don't have ink going where you don't want it. Perfect. All right, then I'm going to go ahead and stick this down. And then I'm just going to use a little bit of glue to tack down my die cuts. I don't need to glue every single spot, but just enough so they're held in place. Now I could pop these up, which actually I think would look really nice. So I think I'm going to put dimensionals on this. I'm just going to let that sit there while I figure out where these sprigs are going and what I want where, because I don't want to push everything down until I'm sure. I'm going to rip this one apart here and just put these 3 little leaves in here to fill this gap. I feel like I could still use another branch down here. There we go. All right, we'll put it in there like that and just fill that little gap. And I'm going to repeat something very similar in my other 2 spots. All right, there we go. And then I'm just going to stick those down into place. To finish off my pages, I printed out my journaling and cut it with the slimline die. This is an old one from Close to My Heart. I use this quite a bit for titles or for big blocks of journaling. It works really well. And then I use the streaked dots. Usually I would go for something like sparkly and metallic, but I really like the look of these. They're like a faux wood look to them, and they're really nice. I love how they pop against this backdrop. I also use the Celebrate Together stamp set to stamp this little label with pretty Peacock ink. I stamped off on scrap paper first, that's why it looks lighter, and then stamped again. And then I stamped the What a Day in Night of Navy. So I went and embellished all my clusters with these dots. And I popped my title up. I added another piece of greenery here because it just looked a little empty. I wanted this to be connected to that cluster and not just sitting beside it. So I really like how that one turned out. And then here on this side, added my dots, a few more over here, and then my journaling. And like I thought, I had lots to say, but I hope you enjoyed watching this come together, and hopefully it helps you pick out some of your pattern papers on upcoming projects. If you're ready for some more inspiration, you can check out this video here, and I'll see you again soon with another video.